Did you know that Nostradamus wrote specific quatrains pointing to the year 2026 as a period of perfect balance and absolute abundance for those born under the sign of Libra? If you were born between September 22nd and October 22nd, get ready, because what you are about to discover will completely transform your vision of the future that awaits you. I am not talking about vague interpretations or generalizations that could apply to anyone. I am talking about specific symbols in Nostradamus's prophecies that serious scholars have identified as direct references to the energy of the scales and to a particular year that aligns perfectly with 2026. Before continuing, let me clarify that this information comes from in-depth analyses of original texts that remained partially misunderstood for centuries until the precise moment arrived to reveal their true meaning. Nostradamus was a master of symbolism and the encoding of information. He knew that certain truths could only be understood when humanity was ready to receive them. His quatrains about world events are famous, but few people know that he also left detailed information about how different energetic archetypes, which we now know as zodiac signs, would experience specific years of profound transformation. Libras occupy a privileged place in his writings for 2026 because they represent balance, justice, beauty, and harmony, exactly the energies he saw manifesting powerfully during this period. Those born under the sign of Libra are universally recognized for their innate search for balance and harmony, their deep appreciation for beauty in all its forms, their natural ability in diplomacy and relationships, and the genuine desire to create justice and fairness in everything they do. Nostradamus understood these qualities on a profound level and saw that the year 2026 would be special for you because it marks the end of a 7-year cycle of imbalance and the beginning of a new cycle, in which everything will finally align in the way you have always known it should. This is not simply another year in your life. It is the pivotal year when decades of patient work, of maintaining your integrity even when it was not easy, of giving without expecting anything in return, will finally be balanced with blessings arriving from every direction. The most revealing quatrain Nostradamus wrote about this period speaks of scales that finally find their perfect center after swinging for years between extremes. The most serious scholars have interpreted this as referring specifically to the year 2026 as a time when Libras will experience what we might call the Great Balance, when every area of their lives that has been out of balance will finally find its point of perfect harmony. If for years you have felt that you give more than you receive, that you work harder than you are rewarded, that you love more than you are loved, that you contribute more than you are recognized for, 2026 will mark the definitive change. And if you feel that this approaching balance is not a coincidence, I want to leave you something special. In the first pinned comment, you will find a small gift, the Path of Abundance, Buddhist wisdom for a prosperous and fulfilling life. It may be that quiet guide that accompanies this new cycle of harmony beginning in your life. But here is something fundamental that you need to understand about these predictions. Nostradamus never saw the future as a fixed destiny carved in stone. He perceived fields of probability, potential paths that materialized when certain internal and external conditions aligned. For Libras in 2026, all the cosmic conditions are perfectly arranged for the manifestation of total abundance, but you must be willing to receive without guilt, to establish healthy boundaries without feeling selfish, and to honor your own worth without waiting for others to confirm it first. The blessings will come, but only if you have done the inner work of recognizing that you fully deserve them. Before revealing the detailed predictions about love, money, and success, I need you to participate actively by leaving a comment right now. Write exactly these words: I am a Libra and I accept my total abundance in 2026. This simple act of public declaration is more powerful than you imagine because it tells the universe that you are ready to receive and that you have released any limiting belief about not deserving blessings. In addition, your comment will help this message reach more people of your sign who urgently need this information. The first visions Nostradamus had about Libras during this special period were connected to what he called the end of disproportionate sacrifice. He wrote about scales that had been unfairly loaded on one side for so long that everyone assumed it was their natural state, until suddenly the universe placed equal weight on the other side and the scale finally found perfect balance. This is a powerful metaphor for how many Libras have been living in situations where they give and give without receiving proportionately, whether in relationships, at work, or within family dynamics. The year 2026 marks the moment when this dynamic changes dramatically. If you have been in relationships where you are the one who always gives in, always apologizes first, and always does the heavy emotional work, prepare for a change. If you have been in jobs where you provide exceptional value but receive mediocre compensation, prepare for that to change. If you have been the family member who always helps everyone but rarely receives support when you need it, the universe is about to balance those scales in ways that will surprise you. Nostradamus saw this with crystal clarity and encoded it in his writings so that you would discover it at exactly this moment. Nostradamus also wrote about a particular symbol that would appear in the sky during Libra's year of balance. Using his coded astronomical language, he described specific planetary configurations that modern scholars have identified as occurring in 2026. Without going into complicated technical astrological details, what matters is that these configurations create an exceptional window of time in which the energies of Venus, your ruling planet, are amplified in ways that occur only once every several decades. This means that your natural magnetism, your ability to attract what you desire, and your capacity to create beauty and harmony will be operating at their highest levels throughout the entire year. Let us now enter the territory of love and relationships, where Nostradamus's predictions for Libras in 2026 are truly extraordinary and full of promise. If you are finding value in this information, subscribe to this channel because I will be revealing exclusive content about how to navigate each month of 2026 based on the prophecies of history's great seers. Nostradamus wrote a particularly beautiful quatrain that has been interpreted as being directly connected to Libras and love during this period. He spoke of golden scales that finally found partners of equal weight and quality, creating perfect balance that lasted for generations. This poetic image contains profound truths about what awaits you in the romantic realm. For single Libras, the year 2026 represents the moment when you will finally attract someone who is truly your equal, someone who gives as much as you give, who values harmony as much as you do, and who appreciates beauty and refinement in the same way you do. If you feel that this new balance is entering your life, I want to leave you a gift. In the first pinned comment, you will find the path of abundance. It can accompany you through this new cycle. The key to this prophecy lies in the phrase, equal weight and quality. For years, many Libras have been in unbalanced relationships where they loved people who could not or did not want to love them back with the same depth, intensity, or commitment. You have attracted people who needed your balancing energy but were not willing to do the work of balancing themselves. The year 2026 marks the end of this pattern. Nostradamus saw that only people who have already done their own inner work of healing and growth will be able to enter your energetic field during this year. For single Libras, the most significant romantic opportunities will come through contexts connected with beauty, art, culture, or refined social events. Nostradamus saw scales meeting in beautiful gardens beneath heavenly music, which in modern language could be translated as meeting someone in art galleries, concerts, cultural events, places of natural beauty, or even on curated online platforms where people with refined tastes connect. The universe will present you with opportunities in environments that resonate with your natural appreciation for aesthetics and harmony. But Nostradamus also left an important warning. He wrote about scales that rejected genuine gold because it did not shine in exactly the way they had imagined. Libras have a tendency to hold very specific ideals about how perfect love should look or feel, and sometimes those ideals can become so rigid that they reject authentic connections that do not fit the preconceived image. The year 2026 will teach you the difference between healthy standards and unrealistic idealization. Maintain your non-negotiable values, but remain open to love arriving in packaging different from what you imagined. For Libras who are already in relationships, Nostradamus had equally powerful visions. He wrote about scales that had been tilted for years suddenly finding balance when both weights decided to adjust simultaneously. This is a metaphor for the renewal of existing relationships. If you have been in a relationship for years while feeling that it is unbalanced, where you have given more than you have received, 2026 will bring one of two outcomes. Either your partner will finally awaken and begin contributing equally to the relationship, or the relationship will naturally end to make room for something better. Nostradamus specifically saw that many Libra relationships would go through what he called the great test of balance during the first months of 2026. Situations will arise that clearly reveal whether the relationship is based on genuine reciprocity or on unbalanced dynamics that have become normalized over time. These tests are not punishments but gifts from the universe that show you the truth so you can make informed decisions about your future. If the relationship passes the test and both people demonstrate a willingness to create greater balance, Nostradamus saw that those unions would strengthen exponentially and enter completely new levels of intimacy and mutual satisfaction. He also wrote about scales renewing vows beneath perfectly aligned stars, which has traditionally been interpreted as an exceptionally favorable year for marriages, formal commitments, or vow renewals for couples who have been together for years. If you have been considering getting married or taking your relationship to the next level, the period between May and October 2026 will be particularly favorable. Ceremonies held during these months under the amplified energy of Venus will have special cosmic blessings that will strengthen the union for decades. Nostradamus also saw something specific concerning Libras and family relationships in 2026. He wrote about scales that finally established boundaries with those who had been taking advantage of their diplomatic and accommodating nature. If you have been the peacemaker in your family, the one who always gives in to maintain peace, the one who absorbs other people's dysfunction to preserve superficial harmony, the year 2026 will empower you to establish healthy boundaries without guilt. You will learn that true harmony does not come from avoiding conflict but from honoring your truth with grace and firmness. Perhaps this change is not a coincidence. That is why I left you a gift in the first pinned comment, The Path of Abundance, a guide for this moment of harmony. Let us now move on to one of the most exciting aspects of Nostradamus's predictions for Libras in 2026: money, material abundance, and the financial opportunities that are aligning for you. Nostradamus understood that Libras have a complex relationship with money, valuing it not so much for power or status, but for the freedom, beauty, and refined experiences it can provide. The most striking quatrain Nostradamus wrote about this aspect speaks of scales discovering that their sense of justice and fairness turns into gold that everyone wants to buy. This is not empty poetry, it is a specific prediction about how Libras will generate wealth in 2026. Your greatest financial asset is not necessarily your ability to work long hours or compete aggressively. It is your natural ability to create balance, mediate conflicts, see every side of a situation, create beauty and harmony where there is chaos, and treat people with justice and dignity. These qualities have enormous market value that will finally be recognized and generously rewarded. Nostradamus saw that many Libras will experience significant increases in income through work related to law, mediation, human resources, design, decoration, art, public relations, consulting, relationship coaching, or any field where your ability to create balance and harmony is your primary professional tool. If you have been in a job that does not fully utilize your natural gifts, 2026 will bring opportunities to transition into roles where your unique talents are not only appreciated but appropriately compensated. He wrote specifically about scales that became arbiters between warring kingdoms and received treasures from both sides for creating peace. This is a metaphor for how Libras can generate wealth by serving as mediators, negotiators, and bridge builders between conflicting parties. In the modern world, these skills are extraordinarily valuable in contexts ranging from corporate negotiations to the resolution of family disputes. If you can help two sides find solutions in which both win, there are people willing to pay very well for that service. Nostradamus also predicted that 2026 would be a particularly favorable year for Libras to generate income through the creation or curation of beauty. He wrote about scales that created gardens so beautiful that people traveled from distant lands just to experience them. In modern terms, this could manifest as success in graphic design, interior design, photography, visual art, fashion, beauty, event planning, or any field where you transform spaces, objects, or experiences into something more beautiful and harmonious. Your eye for aesthetics is not merely a hobby. It is a valuable ability that the universe is inviting you to fully capitalize on. The predictions also include specific information about financial timing. Nostradamus identified the months of March, June, September, and December 2026 as particularly powerful for important financial decisions, salary negotiations, business launches, or significant investments. During these periods, your intuition regarding financial opportunities will be especially sharp, and the negotiations you initiate will tend to resolve in your favor in almost magical ways. However, Nostradamus also left important warnings. He wrote about scales that lost fortunes because they could not decide between several equally attractive options and ended up choosing none of them. Libras have a tendency toward indecision, seeing multiple sides of every situation with such clarity that choosing can become paralyzing. The year 2026 will teach you that indecision itself is a decision, usually the worst one of all. When important financial opportunities appear, you will have to develop the ability to make decisions even without absolute certainty about the outcome. He also wrote about scales that valued harmony above fair compensation and ended up impoverished. This is a warning against the tendency of some Libras to accept less than they deserve simply to avoid conflict or maintain harmonious relationships. The year 2026 will teach you that asking for what you are worth does not create conflict, it creates genuine balance. If someone becomes offended because you establish healthy financial boundaries or ask for fair compensation, that person was taking advantage of your accommodating nature, and the relationship was not as harmonious as it appeared. If something inside you connected with this, there is a gift for you. In the first pinned comment is the path of abundance, created to accompany this new beginning. Nostradamus specifically saw that Libras who learn to negotiate with grace but firmness, who ask for the raises and promotions they deserve, and who charge appropriate prices for their services without apologizing will experience a multiplication of income that will surprise them. The universe is ready to reward you generously, but first you need to demonstrate that you value your own work enough to insist on fair compensation. Let us continue exploring the deeper dimensions of financial abundance that Nostradamus predicted for Libras in 2026, because there are additional layers that will transform your relationship with money and prosperity. One of the most fascinating quatrains speaks of scales discovering gold mines beneath gardens they had been cultivating solely for beauty, without knowing that those gardens contain treasures. This prophecy has profound meaning. Many Libras have been creating beauty, cultivating relationships, and offering their sense of justice and balance to the world without thinking strategically about how to monetize these gifts. You have been doing things for the love of art, for the sake of making the world a more beautiful place, without realizing that these very activities could become significant sources of income. The year 2026 will open your eyes to monetization opportunities that have been there all along but that you had not noticed because you were not looking for treasure, you were looking for beauty. This could manifest in many ways. Perhaps you have been helping friends decorate their homes for free and suddenly someone offers to pay you generously to do the same thing professionally. Perhaps you have been mediating conflicts between acquaintances without charging and discover that there is enormous demand for professional mediators. Perhaps you have been creating art as a hobby and discover that there is a market for your work. Nostradamus saw that when you finally recognize the monetary value of what you are already doing naturally, financial opportunities will multiply exponentially. Nostradamus also wrote about scales that multiplied their gold by sharing it fairly with others. This is a reference to the law of reciprocity, which will be particularly powerful for Libras in 2026. When you generously share your abundance, when you pay others fairly for their services, and when you contribute equitably to causes you value, you create an energetic circuit of giving and receiving that attracts more abundance toward you. Libras intuitively understand the principle of balance, and the universe will reward those who practice it financially as well. The predictions also include information about Libras and business partnerships or associations. Nostradamus wrote about scales joining with other scales to create perfect balance that generated wealth for everyone. The year 2026 is exceptionally favorable for financial collaborations, business partnerships, or simply working as a team in ways that benefit everyone equally. Your natural ability to create fair agreements in which all parties benefit will be a tremendous asset if you decide to start a venture with partners. However, he also warned about scales that entered partnerships with unequal weights and ended up carrying the entire burden, while others reaped the rewards. Before entering any financial agreement or business partnership, make sure the terms are truly equitable, not merely superficially fair. Put everything in writing. Clearly define responsibilities, contributions, and the division of profits. Your desire for harmony must not lead you to accept unbalanced arrangements merely to avoid uncomfortable conversations. Nostradamus also saw that 2026 would be an excellent year for Libras to invest in things of lasting beauty that also appreciate in value. He wrote about scales that bought jewelry, art, and beautiful lands that became multi-generational treasures. If you have been considering investing in real estate, especially beautiful or well-designed properties, quality art, fine jewelry, or any asset that combines beauty with enduring value, this year is favorable for doing so. Your aesthetic eye will guide you toward investments that others might overlook. Now let us explore Nostradamus's predictions about professional success, recognition, and the impact Libras will have in 2026. His visions concerning this aspect are particularly inspiring because they speak not only of external achievement but also of alignment between your work and your deepest values. Nostradamus wrote about scales that were summoned to royal courts to judge disputes that no one else could resolve. This is a metaphor for professional recognition and positions of influence. In 2026, many Libras will be called into roles of greater responsibility, leadership, or influence, not necessarily because they actively seek them, but because others will recognize that they are the perfect people to create balance, justice, and harmony in complex situations. This recognition can manifest in multiple ways depending on your field. You may be promoted to leadership positions where your diplomatic abilities are essential. You may be invited to mediate important conflicts between teams or departments. You may be selected for roles that require representing diverse groups and ensuring that every voice is heard fairly. Your reputation as someone fair, balanced, and capable of seeing every side will expand significantly. Nostradamus also predicted that 2026 would be a year of recognition for many Libras. He wrote about scales that were finally valued appropriately after years of being overlooked. If you have been working diligently for years without receiving the recognition or promotions you deserve, this year marks a definitive change. The work you have been doing, especially the invisible work of maintaining harmony, subtly mediating conflicts, and creating beauty within chaotic systems, will finally be seen and appreciated. This could come in the form of promotions, awards, public recognition, or simply a change in how colleagues and superiors perceive and treat you. But Nostradamus also warned that this recognition will require you to communicate your value more clearly. Libras sometimes assume that if they do good work, it will automatically be noticed and rewarded. The year 2026 will teach you that you also need to articulate your contributions and achievements instead of waiting for others to do it for you. The predictions also include information about Libras and leadership. Nostradamus wrote about scales that led without dominating, that inspired without intimidation, and that created order without rigidity. This is exactly the kind of leadership the modern world desperately needs, and Libras are naturally gifted for it. The year 2026 will invite you to take on leadership roles even if you do not feel completely prepared. The most effective leadership style for Libra is one that emphasizes collaboration over command, seeks consensus whenever possible, values the contributions of every team member, and creates harmonious work environments in which people can thrive. If you attempt to lead by imitating authoritarian styles that do not resonate with your nature, you will fail. But if you lead authentically as a Libra, you will inspire deep loyalty and achieve exceptional results. Nostradamus also saw that many Libras would be recognized specifically for their ability to create beauty and order in chaotic situations. He wrote about scales that transformed noisy markets into organized gardens. In modern contexts, this could mean being recognized for reorganizing dysfunctional systems, improving the aesthetics and functionality of spaces or processes, or transforming toxic organizational cultures into harmonious and productive work environments. Now we will explore the spiritual and life purpose dimensions that Nostradamus saw for Libras in 2026. Although Libras are known for their focus on relationships and external aesthetics, Nostradamus predicted that this year would mark an important awakening in their spiritual dimension and their understanding of a deeper purpose. Nostradamus wrote about scales discovering that they themselves were sacred instruments of divine justice. This is a beautiful prophecy about awakening to your true spiritual purpose. Libras are not here only to create harmonious relationships or beautiful environments, although those are important manifestations of their energy. On a deeper level, they are here as agents of cosmic balance, helping restore justice and harmony in a world that frequently operates from imbalance and selfishness. The year 2026 will invite you to see your work, your relationships, and your entire life as a form of sacred service. Every time you mediate a conflict, you are channeling the energy of peace. Every time you create beauty, you are raising the vibration of the world. Every time you insist on justice and fairness, you are aligning yourself with profound cosmic laws. When you begin to see your everyday activities as spiritual acts, everything changes. Nostradamus also predicted that 2026 would be a year of integrating opposites for Libras. He wrote about scales that stopped swinging between extremes and found the still point at the center where everything is perfect. This is a metaphor for achieving genuine inner balance, rather than merely creating the appearance of balance externally. Many Libras spend their lives swinging between extremes, pleasing others too much and then withdrawing completely, being overly indulgent and then overly restrictive, seeking external harmony while ignoring their own inner imbalance. The year will invite you to find your true center, that place within you that remains at peace regardless of what chaos exists externally. This center is not found by manipulating external circumstances until they become perfectly harmonious, but by developing inner equanimity that does not depend on external conditions. When you find this center, you will discover a completely new level of personal power and peace that transforms every area of your life. The predictions also include information about Libras and spiritual practices. Nostradamus saw scales being drawn toward practices that emphasize balance, harmony, and beauty, such as certain forms of yoga, walking meditation in nature, tea ceremonies, mindful flower arranging, or any practice that combines aesthetics with spiritual awareness. The year 2026 is an excellent year to deepen these practices or explore new modalities that resonate with your Libra nature. Nostradamus also wrote about scales that finally stopped seeking external validation and learned to validate themselves. This is perhaps one of the most important spiritual lessons for Libras. Your natural tendency is to define your worth based on how others see you, treat you, or appreciate you. The year 2026 will teach you that your value is inherent and unchanging. It does not depend on external opinions or on how much others value you. We now arrive at the final section, where I will reveal the specific action steps Nostradamus encoded for Libras who want to maximize the blessings of 2026. Prophecies are treasure maps, but you need to actively follow the map to find the treasure. The first thing Nostradamus emphasized was the importance of establishing healthy boundaries without guilt. He wrote about scales that finally learned to say no without losing their natural grace. As a Libra, you have probably spent much of your life saying yes to other people's requests even when you would prefer to say no because you do not want to disappoint anyone or create conflict. The year 2026 invites you to practice saying no when something is not aligned with your priorities, values, or available energy. Begin with small boundaries and gradually build toward larger ones. Practice phrases such as, "I need to think about it," before automatically responding to requests. Remember that every time you say yes to something you truly do not want to do, you are saying no to something you genuinely want to do. Boundaries do not destroy relationships, they create more honest and sustainable relationships. The second crucial action Nostradamus encoded was practicing making decisions without seeking external approval. He wrote about scales that learn to trust their own judgment without consulting everyone else. First, begin with small, low-risk decisions where you practice trusting your intuition without polling 5 people first. Gradually build toward more significant decisions. You will discover that your intuition is much more reliable than you believed once you stop drowning it out with everyone else's opinions. The third action is to deliberately invest in beauty in your life. Nostradamus wrote about scales that surrounded their homes with beauty and found that abundance naturally flowed toward beautiful spaces. This does not mean you need to spend a great deal of money, but rather that you consciously create beauty with what you have. Organize your space, add fresh flowers, hang art that you love, and create an environment that nourishes your soul. External beauty cultivates inner peace that attracts external blessings. Nostradamus also left specific power dates for Libras. The autumn equinox on September 23rd, when the sun enters Libra, is the most powerful day of the year for setting intentions. March 20th, the spring equinox, is perfect for rituals of balance. June 21st and December 21st, the solstices, are moments for reflection and recalibration. The final warnings include avoiding paralyzing indecision, not sacrificing your needs to maintain superficial peace, and remembering that conflict handled with grace frequently creates deeper harmony than avoiding all disagreements. If you can integrate these lessons while taking advantage of your natural gifts of balance, beauty, and justice, 2026 will truly be the year in which you have it all. Before finishing, I want you to take 3 actions. First, subscribe to this channel for ongoing content about how to navigate 2026. Second, share this video with at least one Libra you know. And third, leave a specific comment about which action you will take first based on these revelations. Remember that Nostradamus saw possibilities, not fixed destinies. The year 2026 is filled with golden potential for you, Libra. Money, love, and success are waiting for you, but you need to actively claim them by establishing boundaries, valuing your gifts, and creating the balance you have sought for so long. This is your moment to shine, to receive in proportion to everything you have given, and to finally experience perfect harmony in every area of your life. Claim your destiny with grace, clarity, and the absolute certainty that you deserve all the good things that are coming. The universe is balancing the scales in your favor. Move forward, beautiful Libra, your year of total abundance awaits.